Good morning and namaste. Well, after a good morning of yoga asanas and a solid meditation, it is my practice to come outside and to walk in the streets of New York. And I'm crossing the Jamaica High School, a very popular school here in Jamaica, Queens, New York, where people from all over the world attend, from all over countries, many countries. I come here because it's inspiration. The vibrational level is so powerful here. Well, this morning I feel so good, and it's all because of the Guru. No other than Swami Parameshananda of the Bharat Seva Ashram Singh. Not just Guru, but God in the form of human being. That I like to speak about personal experiences to really talk about who is this Swami Parameshananda. And it goes like this. When I look back prior to 1991, I was in the mundane world. But coming on top to that point, November of 1991, I could see there was a transformation that was going on, but in a very controversial way. Very gradually, I was being detached from the outer world and a little disdain for it. It was very scary because for an ordinary person, that separation, it came to a place sometimes of loneliness. But the Guru was at work. It was more solitude. And then I went to sleep that night after having a nice American dinner. And then what happened? Reading the Bhagavad Gita, fell asleep. I woke up in the morning and no longer an ordinary person, but a sannyas. A miracle happened because there was no meditation. I wasn't dreaming. There was no dreams that night. But when I woke up, I felt like I was a baby, pure as ever. And the feeling like there is no lingering effects of bad karma or either good karma. All was nullified, and there it was. If I had gotten God realization then, if I had lost my body then what would have happened? I would be a realized soul, not taking this human birth again and again. The same miracle, it took me from, I tried to eat the regular food I used to eat, can't eat it. I could only eat pure vegetarian. The thoughts, the words, and the actions were all pure. I was at my sister's home and she realized the change, pure soul also, at a family. And I continued the day, and socializing was one of the menu. I couldn't go, I went there, but I have to leave because of alcohol was being served and meat and whatever. Came back. But the same miracle that happened there, it also gave me the strength, the source of strength, patience, fortitude, and endurance to stay calm every minute, every hour, day by day, and watch what the next thing unfold. I was close to my friend, Sri Prakash Kasai, a very famous Ramayanist, and I would have picked him up every Sunday morning and go to his temple, Bhubaneswar in Brooklyn, Queens. But this morning, when I pick him up one morning, he says, Swamiji, he calls me. He says, look, good morning. Listen, I had a dream last night. I saw this feet of the Swamiji on my harmonium was so vivid. Listen, when we're done with our service here in my mandir, we'll go to see the Swamiji that I know. After that, we rushed over and we went to actually the house and go into a two-car garage, which was the mandir. And when I look at the photos of on the altar, immediately I know that this is the miracle worker. I bowed to the feet and I went and followed everyone, bowed to the feet of the Swamiji, Swami Parameshananda officiating. Then afterward we had conversation and I related my experiences to Swami Parameshananda, and he says, "Oh, you have God's grace. You must have done something great." And he advised me that, look, we'll be moving over to a new ashram, huge building, a Jewish synagogue with a social hall. And you, this is your calling, come with me. I did not hesitate. We did move in, me and him, and we would have stayed in that building. Construction and refurbishing was going on. And I was trust in the middle of all of it. As I'm a financial controller, I did the administration and the handyman doing all the cleaning and assisting the devotees. And then within a short while, 1992, Magh Purnima, the ashram was opened. It was the pride of the Hindu community. 6,000 people came that day, in and out, to enjoy that beautiful, glorious day. But here we go, Magh Purnima. We have to transition to this. Who was this Swami Pranavanandaji? How did he know me to pluck me out of mundane life 50 years after he left his body in 1941 out of his free will, when he would have fully established an institution called Bharat Seva Ashram Sheng? Well, he has to be God, isn't that so? Anyway, we continued the work, and I was very influential in lifting the ashram up, creating programs, and maintaining the buildings, and doing everything. And Swami Parameshananda would have said, you don't read anymore during that time. Do seva, because you're already purified, and we want to sustain your purity. And then at the end of some 6 months, he asked me to read the Bhagavad Gita, and I did. And then I said, Swamiji, I stopped, and then Swamiji said, so why are you stopping? I said, Swamiji, there's something that is very strange, that I know what I'm reading here. I know this all already. And he says, how did you know? And he smiled, and he says, this is why I asked you to read, because you have now reinforced your relationship with God. Just like Arjuna and Krishna, that Arjuna was getting the blessings and the grace of Lord Krishna, and he understood everything. Anyway, 1996, things had to change, because the Lord Swami Parameshananda, through the controversy, Swamiji was sent to Guyana, I was sent to India, and upon reaching the ashram after being picked up by 4 Swamijis, because one Swamiji came to manage the ashram in America, Seva Ashram Sheng, Jamaica, Queens, where I was staying, and he says, oh, this gentleman, this person has to go to India. He's already a highly evolved soul. As soon as I entered the ashram in Kolkata, Baliganj, I was given the white robe. For the next 6 months, I was thrust into the activities of the Bharat Seva Ashram Sheng. Oh, everything from cyclone relief, to tribal welfare, to moving around with a realized soul, Swami Parameshananda under my control secretary. I went on preaching missions with him. I got to see like 50 ashrams within that 9 months period. And I went on a pilgrimage all by myself from Chennai all the way into the Himalayas. First time being on the train by myself. And then a pilgrimage from Chennai also to the place where Bhagwan Sri Ram, Hanumanji would have flown, and went to Lanka to comfort Mother Sita, to find her and comfort her. And these pilgrimages are so important. But who is doing all of this? Is Swami Parameshananda. I want to implore on you that we're not talking about man, God-man. Nay, God in human form, Guru. Anyway, in Magh Purnima of 1997, I was given the orange robe. And then every year would have gone back. And then eventually, 5 years later, I got initiated as sannyas, where I cut the past by doing the last rites, in Hindu rites, to say that I am dead. The old person is gone. And Swami Pranavanandaji has emerged as a sannyas of Bharat Seva Ashram. Long story short, the Guru continued his guidance. I worked with very, very many organizations, visiting temples in New York. Trinidad, I was there a couple of times. And eventually I took a trip to Nepal just to see the ashram. I wanted to extend my visa because after 6 months I have to come out of the country. And then when I went there, I see the deplorable state of the monk that was doing some work there. He had in a house 25 boys from 5 years to 15 years. And the stench of the urine in this house, kitchen and school, all in this little house, and the out on the yard. And then I came back thinking, next time when I went back, I called one devotee, AAP Children Foundation in New York, and I said, this is what it is. They said, okay, Swamiji, you come back right away. Next day I'm on the plane, spent 3 days in New York, explained to them the whole situation, and they would have said, okay, we'll fund the project. You want to build a building, we'll build a building. But when I returned, the monk there, we had a meeting before I left, and he was able to get the cooperation of the local people in Kathmandu, Nepal. And one man said, I'll give the steel, and I'll have my brother-in-law to give the cement. And then the Swamiji, the Brahmachari then, Sanjay Maharaj, he says, look, we'll sponsor these rooms. 16 rooms we make, and 16 sponsors we had. And before you know it, the money I took, I used a little part of it and returned with the rest, leaving some in the hands of the Swamiji there. Who is doing this? All the Swami Pranavanandaji. And this is how he does. He puts me in the right place at the right time. And I would have gone to Gaya for Pitri Puja. And when I learned about the story that there was a time that the pandas, the intermediary between the pilgrims and the priests, they were harassing the pilgrims and extorting all sorts of money. And also instances where they would have molested women. And when Swami Pranavanandaji heard about it, when he went there, he saw it. But he didn't do anything then. But when he returned, and he was in Kolkata, he had moved the ashram from Bajitpur. He would have seen heard of the atrocities, and he went there. And with Swami Purnananda, the monk that started the ashram in the West in 1956, because he was a fearless one, Purnananda. And he, side by side God and disciple created the Gaya ashram. And the same thing also with other monks, of course. They went to Benares and the same atrocities were conducted by the Pandas, and they established the ashram in Benares and then Puri. But in the early days of Swami Parameshananda, how did he came into existence? Well, there was a gentleman, Mr. Yugacharya, and his wife Shada Devi. They were the agents for the landowner, the zamindar in Bajitpur, Bangladesh. Now it's Bangladesh. It was then East Bengal, part of India, and he tried to extricate himself from charges, serious charges against him through the court system, but nothing worked. For many years he tried, and then he went to austerity. He was a pious man, and his wife was even more pious. He did abstention, all celibacy life, and refrained from eating any meat, and engrossed in meditation for extended period of time. And then what happened? After 1 year, Lord Shiva appeared while he was doing meditation, and Lord Shiva, in the form of Rudra, said, I'll take birth as your son. And the same night, a light went into the womb of Shada Devi. And lo and behold, conception was there. 9 months, a beautiful child came, and it was announced to the village that Lord Shiva was coming. And yes, the aura around the head was there, beautiful child. And as he grew, without a guru, he was doing exceptional things. For instance, when he was 60 years old, he asked to be taken out of the house, and a thatch shed will be built in the yard. And there he will sit and he will do his meditation. One morning his father curiously looked into the shed, and he saw blood coming out of the child's nose, and he asked, son, what's wrong with you? Let me take you to the doctor, this is bad. Then the Binod, his name was, his boyhood name, said, Father, it is through my meditation my blood gets hot, and the blood vessel in my nose broke, and that's why I'm bleeding. It's all right. And then he asked the beautiful question, Father, don't you know who I am? And then the father recollected and said, yes, yes. And then he just walked away. So without a guru, he was already moving into that, his leela of teaching the world how to move from mundane to God realization was in play. And then what happened? He would have gone enormous strength, and his meal was basically rice and potato. And he would have said, when his mother gave him milk, he drank the milk, and he says, no, mother, this milk is too rich for me. I'm already boiling, that this milk will boil and I'll overboil, and my strength will go in the form of losing my celibacy. But he would have continued, and as a teenager, just getting into teen, he will swing 2 clubs, each weighing 40 pounds, over his head continuously for 5,000 times. And this strength, he would have asked to use it when a ruffian in the community was harassing the people. And one day he approached him, and with lightning speed grabbed the ruffian's ankle and spun him to the ground. The ruffian bowed at his feet and asked for forgiveness. As he was walking next to the canal, next to his parents' house, he saw like 10 men trying to bring this canoe up onto the land to fix it. And then he noticed that they were having a hard time, and they asked him for help. And then, just like that, they stepped aside, and he grabbed that canoe all by himself and put it on the dam, on the land. Oh, what enormous strength. When he was a boy, he would have challenged the tulsi plant his mother would have worshipped in the yard that, deity who is residing on that the tulsi plant, if you don't, I'll come and break it. And he was standing on the roof of the house, and then out came a light from the tulsi plant into his body, knocked him down on the roof, and then after some time he recovered. And he would have said that Vishnu Bhagwan, who resides there, now resides in his body also. Same thing too. When after Durga Puja one year, he went and no one was there next to the Murti. He went and challenged the mother and said, "Mother, if you're in there, come out, otherwise I'll break the Murti." And lo and behold, the murder came out as light into his body, and the mother was residing in his body. And then there was a time when as a baby, the babysitter was harassing him, and there was some bad vibration, and he fell sick. The parents took him to all the doctors, and nothing happened. They said, "Okay, we're going to take this child and offer it to Bandurga in the forest." They worshiped the tree, Bandurga. And when they went there, the child got good. And the mother would have said, "From now on, this is not my child. This is the child of Mother Durga." And this is how Swami Pranavanandaji has demonstrated that he is God. The activities of the ashram started by flood reliefs in Bangladesh, and his school friends would have been coming to him and telling all their private stories and private challenges in life. And then he would have said to them, give them the right answers. And like a magnet, he kept them close to him. And it so happened that they become the first monks of Bharat Sevashram, his boyhood friends, school friends. But when he was in school, he would not pay attention to the teacher. But the headmaster of the school, Mr. Yugacharya, he noticed that this child was not ordinary. And he was always sitting and contemplating, looking out of the window of the classroom. And then he said, "Come on, we'll go and see this holy man. You ought to have the guidance of a spiritual master." And then they went, and in Gorakhpur, Baba Gambhirnath. And when Baba Gambhirnath saw the child come in, instinctively he says, "Why are you bringing this child here? He's an accomplished ascetic. What can I do for him?" But Headmaster Bhattacharya said, "No, following Hindu tradition, please initiate him, Babaji." And Babaji obliged. He spent some time, Binod spent some time, then went to Benares. And in Benares there, he went to Ashi Ghat, next to the Ganges, and he took a room there, and he will do his meditation. After some time, he got really sick, and miraculously, an old lady came and was taking care of him. Binod, Swami Pranavanandaji would have said later on, that old lady was no other than Mother Durga. And he returned to Bajipur then, and with his friends, they crossed over the canal, went into the forest with deep undergrowth and water, and they built a pond to make a high spot, and then they built a thatch shed, and under that he would have do his meditation, and he will have singers come over and they will be chanting. And then on that famous Magh Purnima, full moon of February, March in 1917, he was sitting there under that thatch shed, and what happened? He got God realization. What does that mean? He was in the human body, but he was omnipotent, all powerful, 100% of the time. And he's all pervading. This all pervading divine power radiates and consumes the all of creation and beyond creation. And he's omniscient, meaning he knows the past, present, and future. That he is Lord Shiva. From that consciousness without name and form came Pranavananda. And this is how from there the ashram built. And we fast forward, many ashrams were built, Milan mandirs were built, because Milan mandirs, we didn't have enough monks, so householders will be running the ashrams. And today we have 450 of them, even in foreign countries. And ashram, gradually he was training his monks to take charge of the institution that he created, Bharat Seva Ashram Sheng, which was registered in the early 1920s. And he did that because he says, my ashram should be second to that of the Buddha, like that of the Buddha's ashram, an institution with a management system, a corporate management, president, secretary, treasurer. And every year, he said, that we must tell the public, because they are the ones giving the money, how we are spending their money. And also, to get money, he created 7 preaching parties, moving ashrams that will go all over India. Spread the news of the reformation of Swami Parameshananda, and they will collect money. And this way we maintain and expand the influence of spirituality to the masses. And the ashram blossomed into a very powerful institution. And when his body went bad, no sleep, no rest, creating disciples, monk disciples, devotee disciples, 1941. He was on his last trip, and the doctor said, Guruji, I cannot give you any more medicine for the heart. The heart has gone bad. All the cholesterol is there, and diabetes was there. The body just went bad. And then he told Swami Parameshananda realized, God realized, Guru realized, it is time for his Leela to end. He returned to Kolkata, and a few days after he gave up his body was taken back to Bajitpur, Bangladesh, where a temple was built around the place he got God realization. And in there also, before he passed away, he built his 6 feet under in the temple, he built his resting place for the body. And a box with marble was built on top, and that became the altar of Bharat Seva Ashram, of the worship, the altar there in Bajitpur, his birthplace and realization, and now his resting place. So this is the greatness of Swami Parameshananda, and this I wanted to record because of the Hinduism magazine, that this we shouldn't write as ordinary people, but we should write as Swami Parameshananda, as God taking the form of human being and teaching his creation. He's the efficient cause and the material cause, to teach of creation, all of his creation, how to lift oneself, evolve towards perfection. I hope this is a good presentation, and at this point in time we'll close it off, and then you can use it for anything. Maharaj-ji, Swamiji, I hope this is something that it's beneficial for the article that is being done for the July 2022 Gayana Seva Ashram Sheng. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om.